So Dhimmis. So the response from this in the UK has been a long time coming, in my view.
Yep.
So you mentioned that we've, you hate seeing this, but the unfortunate story is that we never tackled this problem properly.
Yeah, it needs to be hashed out, and this appears to be one of those times when it is. I think it's going to get worse before we come to a resolution on this. But
Yeah,
sorry,
I mean, the only time we ever spoke about this before in a national theatre in Britain would probably be Salman Rushdie and the defence of him being able to write a book and giving him refuge, and then I think giving him a knighthood as well for his literary works. And even then, there were criticisms from like the Liberal Democrats were denouncing the timing of giving him it. It's like the Liberal Democrats.
Yeah, but this was
Jesus
back in like
Christ.
the 80s and 90s. And
Exactly
even then,
right.
there were massive protests from Muslims who lived here.
And since then, we've had the Danish cartoons, we've had Charlie Hebdo, so on and so forth. And every single time, even though there's been unity about the idea that this probably should be okay, the national press never picked up on it. There was never a big debate in Parliament about, well, should we actually have these rights or not? Because we actually have not much of a leg to stand on the idea of should offending people be a crime.
No,
But-
because that's the point, isn't it? We should be making the Christopher Hitchens style moral case for offence.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we're like, actually, we've criminalised that. So, don't you post those pictures of Mohammed on the internet, because that actually would get you caught under Section 127.
Which is why we look so pathetic when compared to France. So if we can get the first one up here. This is the Interior Minister in France who is being asked about this exact issue because France has gone over this problem multiple times. And they've come to the conclusion here, in his conclusion, which is that it will be a criminal offence if you are objecting to the showing of cartoons.
France's Interior Minister, Gerald Darmanin, says foreign parents who complain about their children being shown insensitive cartoons will get deported.
Yes.
God!
So if
They're
you-
so far ahead of us.
If you are a foreigner who comes to France and then demands that France become just like where you fled, we'll go back. If you miss it so much, that is the
Forcibly
response.
deported.
Yeah, which
Jesus
I'm in complete
Christ.
agreement with. I don't know why you would oppose that. If a foreigner comes to your country and demands that you become like the place they fled, well then bye-bye.
Yeah.
It's that simple. I mean, this is a fundamental part of our country
Yeah,
that you're
absolutely.
demanding be changed. That's not happening.
But I just love the threat. You'll become like France. Well, if you insist.
Yeah. The unfortunate part here is, of course, that's only for people who are foreigners, so who have come
Sure.
here. The complexity is with the UK. Most of the area we spoke about were born there. I mean, the people complaining were almost certainly born in the UK, grew up in the UK, all have British citizenship.
Maybe.
So you can't deport them. But what you could do is voluntary deportation if they've got dual citizenship. So many of them will probably have dual citizenship, like because the UK allows that, and will probably have Pakistani by the looks of it.
Sure.
In which case, you could just say, well, here's a bunch of money, go to Pakistan, and we'll take away your British citizenship. That would be a legal thing to do. So Boris just saying, if you want to take after the French, there's the more humanitarian approach, I guess, if you want to keep it all legal, which is voluntary deportation. That's a thing you can do.
We assume you do want to keep it all legal.
So
just we disavow illegality.
So this is where the French are with their perspective, and then there's where we are. So we're having a debate about whether or not this is actually a great thing. This is a positive thing that they're having this debate, The Guardian says, because of course they do. To live in a diverse society means to live with debate. Bring it on. It's like, this is not a positive sign, my friend.
Oh, I'm happy to have debates about all of this. The thing is, the Muslims are going to lose the debate. And then what happens when they lose the debate? They're going to be like, well,
It's
you know
very
what, guys, they're
optimistic
right.
of you.
No, they're absolutely going to. That's the reason that the individual Muslim activists have to resort to violence. Because they do lose these debates. If they could persuade people, I'm sure they wouldn't need to.
What do you define by losing the debate?
Well, not persuading the other side.
Well, who cares if the demands are met?
Well, exactly.
So that's where the real issue is, I think. But I mean, like his argument here of like, oh well, it's good that we're having debates. I mean, I agree. I agree that diversity of opinion and having debates is good, but it is not a good sign when you are having the debate about whether or not that thing should exist. I mean, whether or not foreign opinions should exist to your own. The idea that someone could disagree and say drawing Muhammad should be legal. That's the debate we're having. Should free speech exist? That's
Yes.
not a positive sign, my
Not
friend.
that it does in Britain, but anyway.
But the guy writing this makes some inadvertently, I think, good points. I've tried to take them out. So he mentions in here, many groups struggling for justice and equality, women, gays, non-believers, within religious communities, cannot but be blasphemous.
Yep.
Women, gays, non-believers, their existence is blasphemous in and of itself.
I don't think women's existence is blasphemous in and of itself. Mr. Nazrik is this guy?
He's taken a very extreme viewpoint, I
Yeah,
presume.
I actually think that women are accepted in Islam.
But he doesn't say it. But I mean, that's actually a good point, though, which is that if we accept that those things are blasphemous, then if you accept that these cartoons are blasphemous, well, then not only are we then going to have to give up the drawing of cartoons, we are going to have
We're going to have to give up women.
women, gays, and non-believers in existence. So, I mean, if you accept that they are blasphemous in their existence, I mean, this is like the alt-right when they say, oh, we'll just get rid of all the minorities, and what if they won't leave? Well, then you know what they're arguing for. The alt-right are arguing for genocide. Same thing here, where they're like, well, what happens to the gays and the non-believers who are blasphemous in their existence? Well, you know what they're going to do with them. They're going to kill them. That's going to be their solution.
Well, if I mean, judging by the example set by other Muslims in other countries,
I mean, their literal law
could
states
reasonably
death.
infer that. Yeah, there's like 12 countries with the death penalty for being gay, all of them Muslim.
Yeah. Like, big surprise.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then there's also non-believers. I think Malaysia still has on the law that if you're a non-believer, death.
Really?
It's just like, okay. I think Saudi has it as well. But, so, no trips to Malaysia for you.
Not many Christians in the Arabian Peninsula.
But atheists, I mean, as a non-believer.
Or atheists, yeah.
So no, but like the law is, if you're an atheist, the punishment is death.
Oh, is it? Right,
So,
okay.
anyway, but he also makes a good point here, which I think has been sort of glossed over, which is that he says, one of the ironies of such controversies is that they serve to silence many Muslim voices and traditions. This is actually true. So the argument here that, well, we're arguing that the cartoon should always be blasphemous within Islam, well, that's not true.
No,
That's
the
never...
Sharias, the Shias don't believe that, do they?
So it's a long-standing thing that is going on within the Islamic world in back in the day, and the Shias definitely have a different viewpoint on this. So just to get the next link up, which is just a Google search, you can just do this yourself. Muhammad paintings, and you'll find painting after painting from the medieval times of people drawing Muhammad with his face, without his face, whatever. So the idea that this is some universal thing within the Islamic world as well is just bunk. Like, not true. I'm sorry. So these guys claiming that they represent all of Islam or something, that's obviously false. I don't know what to make of it.
What I find interesting is if we have to accept this prescription about Muhammad as well, do we also have to accept the other assertions about him and like he flew to heaven on a winged horse? Like Mehdi Hassan believes? Do we have to believe that as well?
Yes, presumably. I mean, if you got...
What's the logic for not?
What is the state going to do? If you accept the first premise, I mean, what's stopping you from getting all the way to Sharia state?
Look, I just don't think there was a winged horse. Anyway, sorry.
But you've already accepted that we can't blaspheme against Muhammad, so... That's the state of this. I also saw there were some interesting responses. So Douglas Murray did a response in which he was pointing out the endless question, which is, well, why are some groups able to get away with breaking lockdown regulations? So they're allowed to protest here that
he doesn't even have his mask over his face.
But that's
blasphemed against the COVID Sharia.
Right next to the cops as well, who don't seem to care about this. Although I did like Voltaire's ghost response, which is, well, at least they didn't just turn around and start saying the Shahada, the cops. It's like kind of what I expect from the British cops, not to just turn around.
Bare minimum, I suppose.
Like at least they didn't convert to Islam at there right then. It's like, okay, that's one
they
small
didn't
settlement.
they didn't take the knee, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yet.
So then there's the Labour Party response to this. So there's the official Dhimmi party.
Yeah.
So this is the first thing I'm going to show you here. This is the local Labour MP who had said nothing at the time of our last episode. She has now released a statement. So this is her statement here she put on Twitter. So no teacher should be facing intimidation or threats. There is no excuse for that. The focus must be on welfare and education, blah, 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 blah. Going off topic there, just because she wants to campaign about something else. So basically, no teacher should be
But wouldn't you
facing
rather
threats.
talk about something else if you were a Labour mayor?
Yeah. I welcome the school's apology in recognition of the offence that has been caused by... But conversations between the school and parents and local community must proceed in a dignified and respectful manner. And then, those who seek to fan the flames of this incident will only provoke hate and division. It's like, sounds like a threat again. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But there's the point there she's like, okay, well, the teacher shouldn't face anything. I welcome the apology, which is like, yeah, but I do agree with the Islamists. And also anyone who fans the flames of the incident will have hate and division put upon them.
So anyone who doesn't agree with the Muslim protesters will be causing hate and division.
So I would say that this is not a great response, but it turns out it's not even her first one. She responded earlier, and this was like her revisit to try and make it sound less like a Dhimmi. So her original statement was even worse. So if we get to the next one, this is someone pointing it out here, that she says, the upset and offence this has caused is understandable, but it was also predictable. I am pleased that the school has recognised that it was inappropriate and apologised for causing the offence. It's like, wow. I can't think of a better Dhimmi thing to say, which is just, I agree with the Islamists.
Tracy Brabin, don't offend Islam.
That's the Labour Party's position. So I assume we can just assume that the Labour Party in general is now officially saying we are the party of Islam, and blaspheming against the Holy Prophet is not allowed. Like,
can you imagine if Keir Starmer comes out with Macron's position?
He won't.
I know, but it'd be bloody hilarious, wouldn't it?
Should double down on Boris, see what he does. That would be good, but it's not going to. No. And it's not even very good in the Conservative Party either. I mean, as you previously mentioned, the Baroness Wolsey response to this was that extremists are hijacking this issue. So if we can get the next one up. Just to remind yourself, like, she's the former Conservative chairman as well. Like, chairman for the whole party. Yeah. And this is her opinion, that unfortunately this matter has been hijacked by extremists on both sides to create some kind of culture war. What we are forgetting in all of this is the most important party in all of this, which is the kids and their learning. It's like, Jesus Christ. So
where were you when the COVID shutdowns were preventing kids from going to school?
But it's such a distraction as well. Just like, she knows that there's a culture war going on there, which is between the forces of we should be a Sharia state and the forces of liberalism. Yeah. And her response is, everyone arguing about this is an extremist. Let's just move on. Let's pretend this isn't happening.
Not helpful.
I mean, this is what we've done every time there's been a cartoon crisis in foreign lands. Punt. But now that it's happened in ours, we're trying to pull the same thing. That's not going to work.
No. And the thing is, just pathologizing everyone on each side as an extremist for having an opinion on this is not really very helpful.
On one side, Islamists. On the other side, liberals, both extremists. So what on earth are you then?
I'm a conservative.
Oh, man. Like, I believe it was like democratic Islamism or something. Yeah. I don't know what to say. It's just so depressing that this is the state of the Conservative Party. I mean, I'm glad that she's the former chairman, but some of the Conservative MPs haven't been much better. I have seen some good responses of them saying this shouldn't be the case.
If Boris doesn't come out and be like, what are the letterboxes angry about now, I'm going to be disappointed.
If there is no speech from Boris Johnson addressing this issue, it will be embarrassing.
Yes.
Because it will be another issue we just stepped aside and ignored, and this will get kicked 5 years down the road. Yeah. It'll just get worse. Yep. So there's Sajid Javid at least made a response to this. So he's out of the cabinet now, so this isn't a cabinet position, but he's a Conservative MP, in which he said that in this country we are free to peacefully follow, preach, and query any religion or none. No.
Good man.
That's a lie, though.
Yeah, it's not true, but that's how it should be.
I really wish that is the case. I'm glad that your opinion is that should be the case, but I'm sorry to inform you that
I really like Sajid.
It's not the case.
He'd always been so solid on these issues. Like when he was talking about the grooming gangs, like, look, political correctness is not going to leave any stone unturned. But it's okay, great. He's completely, correct on the liberal perspective on all of these things. He always does a great job. And he gets yeeted out of the cabinet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going on with the office politics in that section, but his rhetoric has always been solid. Yeah. But then again, I mean, so was Boris until he got into the seat of Prime Minister. So that's one thing. But him saying that we are free to query any religion, no, that's just not the case, I'm afraid, in the UK. So the best example for this kind of case would be the Northern Irish pastor who was criminalised for saying that Islam was satanic. So this was a Northern Irish pastor giving a sermon, and he said that the religion of Islam is satanic. Which, I mean, you would if you're a Christian.
Why wouldn't a Christian say that? What?
I mean, this is the force of Satan here. The guys coming out of the Arabian desert and murdering every Christian they can find and taking over Christian lands.
And Jews.
Yeah. I mean, that would look pretty satanic to the Christian faith. I mean, I remember at the time, the Pope, and what was it, when they first started invading, I think it was Jerusalem or whatever, the Pope issued a statement saying that it was the forces of Satan had risen up against them.
But I mean, anything can, from the Christian perspective, be viewed as satanic if it's against Christianity. You could always view anything as satanic. So, for him atheism is satanic. Islam is satanic. You probably frame Judaism as being satanic. Buddhism, whatever it is. Anything could be satanic if it's not pro-Christian.
So for saying that, which is a fact if you're a Christian, that is your opinion by definition. Yeah. I'm sorry. If you don't agree, you're not a Christian.
If you're a bit of a zealot, that is.
Well, I don't know. Anyway, so the point here is that he was charged with being prosecuted under the 2003 Communication Act, Section 127, for his anti-Islam remarks.
Thanks, Labour.
Boy, I'm glad that we're free to query religions, Javid. Yeah. Sorry.
And in Scotland, there was someone had written Islam is questionable on a wall and got arrested by the Scottish police.
Yeah.
And apparently it's not questionable.
I find it amazing. So this
article...
It's
not even that you can't even insult it. You can't even question it.
So this article has a Muslim scholar trying to back him in the case. The case eventually was dismissed, which is good, but that's not an argument for keeping the law. No. I mean, if you criminalize people for doing this, the law is bad. And I love the Muslim scholar's defense here. So he opens with, this is his defense of free speech. Against the flaming backdrop of torched Christian churches, bloody executions and massacres of faith minorities in the Middle East and elsewhere,
France,
and blah, 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 we must defend freedom of speech. And it's like, man, that does sound pretty satanic. I mean, burning Christians, burning churches, and, crucifying them in the Middle East. I don't know what else I call satanic apart from that. So it's just such a weird defense. It's like, yes, the Middle East is full of barbarians who are murdering Christians outright. I mean, this is in the time of ISIS especially.
Well, I mean, there is a genocide of Christians going on. I mean, you look at places like Egypt where Coptic churches are being bombed. I mean, Coptic Christianity was like the 2nd century or something. It's one of the most ancient branches of it, and they're currently being genocided.
So, I mean, sounds satanic to me.
Yeah.
But no, that's a crime to say. And he was taken to court over this, not just arrested. So then there's the other part of the Labour Party. So the Labour Party front bench, so this is someone who is from Keir Starmer's cabinet, if we can get the next link up, gave an interview with Sky News. And his position, I presume, will have been cleared with the Labour Party cabinet, because it's how that's meant to work. And his position was one of, move on. Nothing's going on here. Nothing to see. So
punt this to further down the road so it's someone else's problem.
So the interviewer asks, you think suspending the teacher was the right thing to do? It's like, do you think that?
Yeah.
And his response was, what we have to do now is move on. It was like, well, so just...
We're in the middle of the conversation, mate. Why are we moving on?
But that's what I mean by the debate here is just the outcomes, fundamentally, what happens. And the Islamists have won. The teacher has been suspended. He will never be allowed to teach that school again for security concerns, if nothing else. And the response from the major institutions is just, let's just move on. Everything's fixed now. I mean, they've got the result they want in Labour.
I suppose they do.
What do they care? And I also love this argument I see endlessly that freedom of speech is not freedom from consequences. I mean, this issue just, I think, crystallizes that argument into what that argument really is. It's a threat.
Yeah.
In the same way the arguments of from the Muslim people arguing outside were.
Become like France.
Become like France. Well, the freedom of speech of this teacher is not freedom from consequences. Well, what are the consequences? We get the next image up. I mean, this is the original cartoons that he used from Denmark. And then there were riots, and this is a Danish embassy that was set on fire. And over 300 people died. So, I mean, that's what we're going for. Luckily, there is one good person in all of this who has said something good. It's not a politician. It's not even a conservative. It's Ricky Gervais. the only Englishman left on the planet by the sounds of it. And he doesn't even live here.
Based Ricky Gervais, channeling those French genes.
So him tweeting out, blasphemy, effing blasphemy. It's 2021 for F's sake. What next? People being punished for insulting unicorns.
It's only a matter of time, Ricky, to be honest.
But I hate how we're like having to look to Ricky Gervais for moral guidance because all of our leaders in the UK have just given it up.
Oh God,
Man,
run for Parliament, Ricky.
Honestly, you'd win. You've got more backbone than anyone in the country at this point. I mean, even
67,000 likes, man. You're gonna do a great job, Ricky. Come on.
I love how the criticism as well. You can see like the upvoted comment here. It's 2021 and you still have no black and Asian people in your crew. Like,
Thanks for that, Arif Mahmood. Very useful.
What a useful contribution, Arif. Thank you for that. But there's the point, which is just that. Okay, it's bad that this is happening.
At that. That's the apex of Islamo-leftism right there.
Yeah,
it's like Macron was right.
But it pains me that this situation is happening. The fact that we are having this debate at all instead of just telling them to get stuffed and get deported.
That the French are making us look bad.
But then, I mean, that's horrible. But I was really hoping that at least the Conservative Central Party would come out and say something. I mean, this is such an easy win for them. And one secretary has said that this shouldn't be the case, and another one has said that we should have freedom of speech.
We don't agree with threats.
It's like, oh, fuck, radical position, lads. Yeah. I mean, you've blown it out of the park with that one. But
really contributing to the dialogue there.
Instead, we just have the agreement from both, university parties here that this isn't really an issue. It's a pleb problem again. This is something we can just get over if we just move on. And then, okay, the plebs will be arguing about it in another 5 years, but who really cares?
Yeah.
This is never
Some
really
pleb teachers might get murdered. Not a problem.
Yeah, I hate it. No, you guys, honestly, there needs to be a speech from central government in the same way that's going on in France to I don't know, at least moderate the culture in this country. To say, no, we have values, and these values aren't going anywhere. Fundamentally, we should have the right to say things which are offensive. But, I mean, they don't have that value.
Yeah, but we don't have that right either.
That's the thing. Like,
we've literally criminalised it.
It absolutely sucks. Because, I mean, that was one of my major reasons for voting Conservative at the last election. I imagine a lot of people had the expectation that, yes, something would be done on this front. Nothing has happened instead. And it just kills me. I don't know what we're going to do.
Well, there's only one option.
Look to Ricky Gervais.
Yeah, exactly, and that's
the Ricky Gervais party coming here soon.
I would support it, but like the problem is that there is very little from which the Conservatives appear to be able to argue from, considering how Labour has criminalised all of those traditionally conservative things. Like the sort of classical liberalism that Conservatives should be arguing from has essentially become illegal in many ways. the typical one being free speech and offence. Well, sorry.
Like, if the teacher had done this via Zoom call, if we all still
Yeah.
lockdown, that would have been a crime.
Yeah.
I mean, not just a breach of some kind of guidance or inappropriate or so on and so forth, a crime.
Which it wasn't, and they've been doing it for years, but it doesn't matter.
But that's the point. It's like, look, you guys have got to do something. You can't just keep kicking this down the road and think it's going to go away. It is never going to go away.
That's
it is
where
just
you're
going
wrong,
to get worse.
Because I'm a conservative.
Oh, God.
If you enjoyed this segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full broadcast live every weekday at 1 p.m. UK time on lotuseaters.com.